Hey guys, it's Bailey and welcome back to the channel for what's going to be a makeup tag recently posted by Shaaanxo, I think maybe started by Shaaanxo, but it's the full face using old favorites video. But I do want to say I asked you guys for inspiration on Twitter a couple days back. I was lacking for inspiration, and so I asked you guys what you wanted to see, and Lauren let me know that a couple of people are doing this throwback style video where they go back to old favorites they knew and kind of discussing them. So I'm not sure if that's been incorporated into a tutorial before, but I do want to say this kind of idea might exist somewhere, but Shan was the first person I saw to do in a tutorial format, in a tag sort of thing, if you will. So just something to keep in mind. She has a video up, but this might be something that exists. Let me know if you've seen it elsewhere in the comments below. That way people know where else they can find videos like this. But this is what we're doing today. I picked some of my old favorites, like well used, well loved, and it's kind of surprising. Some of them I was reminded how much I loved, and others I think I have moved on from. So if you want to go see how to get this look using a lot of my old favorites, please continue watching. First up is Eyeshadow Primer, and I'm going to be using the e.l.f. Smudge Pot, this guy, in the shade Cruisin' Chic. And I'm applying that all over my lid with a Sigma P88. This is technically a cream shadow, and honestly, back in the day, I would have used MAC's Paint Pot in Painterly, but once that thing dried up and crusted out, I tossed it and didn't repurchase because I had so many other primers that I needed to get to. And technically, this is not something I would use to prime with back in the day, but it is one of my absolute favorite blasts from the past that I would occasionally use to prime. But I mean, like, look at that as an eyeshadow, one and done. Now onto eyeshadow palettes. I'm using the Lorac Pro. It was between this and the Naked palette, but I just, after opening this up, I realized, no, this is definitely what I gravitated. I mean, look, hit and pan on this taupe shade because it's my go-to crease shade. Loved this guy, not only for creating like basic everyday go-to looks that were just super easy to slap on and run out the door, but because it has these colors over here. This is such a fun palette to play with too. So first I'm taking that taupe shade and working it with a fluffy blender brush in my crease. Then I'm going in with cream and running that along the barrier of that crease shade just to make sure that the line there isn't too harsh. It's blending up into my brow. And then I'm going to move on to the lid shade, which I don't even know what I want to do. So my go-to, judging by how much I've used these, my go-to was light bronze. This, even though I loved gold, it was a little bit too warm for me. It kind of made me look sickly if I didn't line correctly and kind of create black liner barrier between the two, which I didn't always want to do for a daytime look. So for the sake of going with old favorites, I'm going to go with light bronze. So I'm just patting that all over my lid with the Delium Tool 777 brush, basically a flat shader. And then I'm going to use the Nude, which is actually a shimmery frosty white shade, and apply that in my inner corner. Once that is in place, I'm going to go in with Sable. I loved this deep chocolatey brown right here because it was nice and deep and rich to deepen up the outer corner, but it wasn't as extreme or severe looking as maybe espresso or black. But then I'm not gonna lie, once I did that, I would go in with either espresso or black just in the very, very outer corner to add that extra drama. So I'm just applying that to the outer corner, starting in the very outer corner and then swiping it towards the center of my lid, as well as working it up through my crease. Then I'll also take that fluffy crease brush from before and just make sure all those shades are blended out throughout the crease. Maybe add a little bit more cream as needed in there just to make sure there are no harsh lines. Then once that's applied, like I said before, I'll go in with a touch of, let's do espresso. This is a tiny little detailer brush, and I'm just patting that in the outer corner just to give it a little bit of something else. You can just see a hint of difference between the two eyes. I want to say I don't think I would have achieved this level of blending back in the day using this palette, so yay for growth. For mascara, I wasn't really loyal to one mascara, just like I am now. I had a thing for actually a lot of Too Faced mascaras now that I think about it. The Too Faced, Better Than Sex, but even the one before that was in the black tube, it was like, I can't remember what it was, False Lash Extreme? No, that's the one with the fibers. I forget what it was, but basically those two Too Faced mascaras I really, really liked. Today I'm just gonna use what I have open because I don't have either of those open, and if I did, they would probably be too old, and that's like asking for an eye infection. So this is the Essence, the False Lashes Mascara, Extreme Volume and Curl. I also want to mention, after using that mascara for a little over a week, maybe 2 weeks at this point, it's okay. It's great at lengthening, great at curling. It holds both of those throughout the day, but I will say I notice some flaky fallout depending on the day. I'm not sure if it's a weather thing or if I just happen to touch my lashes more one day than some of the other days, but at the end of one day I looked in the mirror and I was like, that is some serious crusty fallout, and it was not flattering. So it's a pretty good mascara in what it does for my lashes, but wouldn't count on it for wear time if you tend to have wear time issues already with your mascaras. So I think I just did my foundation without actually recording it. Here's what you missed. I like to use the Dior Air Flash spray foundation back in the day. My mom got this for me as a gift. Before that, I had pretty much only used Drugstore, like the stuff that I could afford as a student. And we were walking around at counters and happened to try this. And we both fell in love with it. So she bought me my first can for my birthday, and it was like my favorite. Maybe it's because it was like my first luxury product that always has like a special spot in your heart. But I also genuinely loved the second skin finish. Like your natural skin texture could shine through. It didn't look like you were wearing a mask, but I thought it just had like the best coverage ever. What's funny is I just applied it here using this big ol' It Cosmetics, I always forget what this is called. It's like the Heavenly Luxe big old brush. I don't know, I can't remember what it's called. Use this to apply it. You can spray it all over your face, but I find that it clings to my peach fuzz and I end up having to go back in and buff it anyway. Plus you get the foundation in your hair. So the easiest way for me is just to spritz it on a brush and then go in and apply it directly. So that's what I did here. And I have to say, this is not my favorite foundation anymore. It definitely, I mean, like I thought it did, let the natural skin texture shine through, but it's not as full coverage as I thought I liked back in the day. Like I like a good full coverage foundation now. I don't like it too cakey or too unnatural looking, but I definitely like it more full coverage than this. So I'm wondering if it's not an old can, first of all, because this is probably over a year old at this point, even though it's totally sealed. Maybe some natural deterioration in the product, some breakdown there is affecting how this is wearing. I can't imagine that's the case though, and so I have to say, I have moved on from the Dior Air Flash. So, and this was, I know I didn't film it, shame on me, but I actually layered it up a couple of times in the center of my face because you could still see freckles shining through, which I don't mind, but you can also see blemishes shining through, which I do mind. And I was way more acne. I had way more acne on my skin because I was in school and stressed. And so I'm not sure why I would have liked this so much if this is the kind of coverage. I don't know. It's funny how your preferences change, but this, I don't know if this would be my go-to anymore. Could be because I would go in with this concealer. It's the Bye Bye Under Eye from It Cosmetics. And this stuff is super full coverage. I've gone through a couple of tubes of these. This is the shade Light. And so I would just put it on my ring finger like so. I have always been a finger blender, and just go in directly in my under eye area. Ooh, that is very light. So I really love this because it was like the first really full coverage concealer I had ever tried that didn't look too terribly cakey or unnatural. The only thing about it though is that you see this kind of glow dewiness you get here, like it kind of looks like I'm wearing highlighter. It's not. That's actual dewiness from, it's like a wet tacky texture from the concealer, and that never goes away for me. It never sets or dries or anything like that, so I have to use a setting powder with this, otherwise it will sink into my fine lines. And I was never loyal to one particular setting powder, so I'm just going to use what I've been using lately, and it's the NYX HD Finishing Powder. Just going to put that in my under eye area, pat that there, so it sets that concealer. Onto the eyebrows. I know what I would have worn, but I cannot find it for the life of me. It's the NYC Kohl Brow or Kohl Brow / eyeliner. They say it's an eyeliner, but I would never use it on my eyes because it has a distinctly waxy texture that I love because it helps not only fill in your brows, but set it in place. Like I said, I know I have like a full-sized one around here somewhere. I just can't find it. So in its place, I'm just going to use what I have been using lately, but just know I would have used that. I use the shade Taupe, which is not the right shade for me. It's the only shade I could ever find in drugstores, but I just walked around with like really light ashy looking brows for me. Basically it matches my natural brow tone, but for some reason when I would fill my brows in with that whole tone, it would just like, it wouldn't be quite as dark as my hair, which I know it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be like, what, a shade or two lighter, but it looked too light for my face. So this is from CoverGirl. It's the Easy Breezy Brow Shape and Define in the shade Soft Brown, which is a little bit more appropriate for me. It is a hair darker than I might want to go, but it gets the job done. Now onto the face. This is so funny. This is the Nars Laguna, what is it? Orgasm and Laguna bronzer duo. Not even mine. My mom gave me this. She, for some reason, had doubled up, and so she gave me her older one, and I've had it ever since, like years ago. She gave this to me back when I first started making videos, and I still have it to this day. So I use it all the time. You know, it's one of those nice things you have, and so you're like, yeah, I'm gonna use this really posh product. So I use this a lot. Then as other products came out, especially like when e.l.f. kind of duped this with their St. Lucia or whatever those bronzer blush duos were, I would use those, and that kind of opened the floodgates to the world of bronzer and blushes. But for now, I'm going to use this, so I'm just applying Laguna generally where I would bronze. Always a classic, always a classic, always looks good. And then naturally, I'm going to go in with Orgasm. Now, during my heyday with this palette, highlighting wasn't really a thing. And so, believe it or not, I was like, oh, Orgasm shimmery, this is like a built-in highlighter. And then I wouldn't highlight at all. Not the story today, folks. I would just like if you were a Sharpie, I'd just Sharpie that highlighter on right now. I'm not going to, because that's not authentic to this throwback look, but just know this is all I would do, and I'm not unhappy with it. I really like the way these are two classic shades that just like always go together. You can always count on them, but yeah, I kind of miss a highlight. And last are lips. I'm kind of torn here. I didn't really have a go-to lipstick or lip color, or lip product, I should say. I did have a lip color that I liked, and it was basically a gloss. I was big into gloss, not big into lipstick, because I didn't want to have to reapply something, like go to a bathroom and find a mirror to apply an opaque lipstick, so I was big into gloss, and I liked nude or peach undertones with glitter, not glitter, gold like shimmer spread throughout. You know, that was like my go-to. There were a couple of glosses. Rimmel had one, L'Oreal had one, which is why I'm holding this one, because it's similar to this, but this has a cool shimmer in it. This is the shade Coral Sands, and so it has that kind of peachy coral undertone, but the shimmer, even though it's super fine, is kind of a cooler taupey sort of shimmer, and just not the gold that I would typically go for. So I will still go in with this and apply, so we can get a similar sort of effect. But yeah, I wouldn't take the foundation off my lips. I wouldn't apply balm or anything. I just go straight in with a gloss and call it good. So that's the look, guys. It was really fun to go back and see what of my old favorites kind of stood the test of time and what didn't. Surprisingly, I thought for sure I would love all of them, but I didn't. Not that they're bad. Like, as I look at my face right now, I still like the finish of the Dior Air Flash, but it's not my favorite. There are definitely some other foundations that I think would kick its butt now, and so interesting. Always good to know. I do think I will keep that Lorac Pro. I'm gonna put that back in my daily routine because I miss it. I love this eye look. But the one thing I wish I would have known about back then, highlight. That is the one thing this look is missing. But besides that, really liked it. Liked doing this video. I'd love to hear what products you guys would pick for this. If you make videos, definitely make a video. If not, just list them down in the comments below, because it's always so much fun to kind of go back, however far back, when you first started makeup, or just like a couple years back when you know that your daily setup was totally different. Go back and think about whether you missed stuff or whether you're glad you kicked it to the curb. Let me know down below. Besides that, thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye, guys.